Hello fellow Earthlings, it's Libs, and today I'm going to be doing my 10 favourite books from 2020. I am very much not at home at the moment, but I don't have anywhere to film here, so I'm kind of just awkwardly doing this on a bed, hoping for the best. So do not mind the weird shakiness of this video. This will be fun. So I thought I'd go on Storygraph first and have a look at some of my reading stats to give you an idea of the kind of books I read this year. For moods, my 5 most popular were reflective books, emotional, challenging, mysterious, and dark, which makes sense. That doesn't really surprise me too much. Most of the books I read this year were slow-paced or medium-paced. Most of the books I read were under 500 pages. We all know I don't love a long book. Most were fiction books. And then as for genres, I read a lot of historical and fantasy. And as for reviews, my average rating this year was 3.95 stars. So because I'm away, I don't have all the books with me. Hopefully I will learn how to edit and add them in somewhere, but we'll see how that goes. So number 10 is Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. This is a collection of essays that are about feminism and pop culture and quite a few different things. I found it very interesting. Again, it wasn't my favourite book of the year, but I definitely wanted to mention it because I found it really interesting and quite a valuable read. I think if you're interested in reading books on feminism, it's probably not the best one for that, but I did find it really interesting, and some of the points that she brought up were quite poignant, and I enjoyed it, and I would recommend it. Book number 9 is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, I hope. Sorry if I'm not saying that right. I'm sure most people have heard of this book. I think the sequel just came out in English at the end of 2020. It's some stories about this magical cafe in Japan where a person can travel back in time to another time that they were already in the cafe. You can't necessarily change what will happen in the past, but a lot of the characters find some kind of resolution or come to peace with certain aspects of their lives through traveling back in time at this cafe. I didn't love the start of this book, but the more it progressed, the more impactful I found the stories were, and I ended up really enjoying it. By the end I was extremely invested. I think it was just I'm not used to reading a lot of translated books, so it took me a while to kind of get used to it, but once I did, I really enjoyed this book. Book number 8 is Breakup by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first Brandon Sanderson book I've ever read, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't necessarily expect to, because it is quite a chunky book. I think it's 688 pages, so it is a really big book, and I don't tend to gravitate towards those, but I really enjoyed this. The writing style is quite simple, but I was very invested in the story, and I really liked it. It follows 2 sisters in this magical world where there are gods and goddesses, and it's been a while since I've read it, so this is going to be a weird explanation. These 2 princesses, and one of them has to marry the god king, and the other was meant to marry the god king and is now trying to save her sister. And it was a really interesting read. I didn't see all the twists and turns that were coming. I really liked it, and I definitely recommend it. You can actually read this book for free on Brandon Sanderson's website, So if you're like me and you haven't read any of his books before and you want to get a taste for it, I would really recommend doing that. Book number 7 is one that I have mentioned so many times this year, and that's Who Do You Serve, Who Do You Protect? Which is another collection of essays and reports about police brutality in the US. It came out in 2015 and it's still painfully relevant today. I think it's probably the most important book I read this year. I've talked about it a lot in the past, so I won't go on about it too much here. I got it as a free ebook from Haymarket Books, and if it's still available for free, I will link it down below. Yeah, I think it was very hard hitting, but very important, and I'm really, really glad that I read it. Book number 6 on my list is Wolf Hall. Another book that I've been meaning to read for a really, really long time and finally made myself do it this year. I think it's a huge book. I found it very intimidating, but once I got into it, I really enjoyed it. It's a very like slow-paced story about historical fiction story about Thomas Cromwell. I loved it. I absolutely loved that book. I've just picked up Bringing Up the Bodies, and I'm Bringing Up Bodies. Can't remember what it's called. The sequel, and I'm really excited to read that one because I've heard it's even better than Wolf Hall, which I find difficult to believe, but I'm very keen to give it a go. It's definitely a slow burn book, but if you enjoy that kind of thing, if you enjoy historical fiction, the Tudor period, anything like that, I would definitely recommend giving this book a shot. It was fantastic. It's beautifully written. It takes a little while to get used to the style. It's quite a unique style, but once you adjust, it's a fantastic story and I loved it. Okay, now we're into my top 5 books of the year. And number 5 was The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I don't even know how to describe this series. I've read the first 2 books of the trilogy. The other book will be on this list too. But yeah, The Bear and the Nightingale was amazing. It's a historical fantasy about this young girl in Russia who is discovering the magical powers that she possesses in a world that don't quite accept her powers or can't see what she can see, in a time of where the religion of the country is changing and everything is very tense and it's all very high pressure situations. And I really enjoyed this book. I think it did a fantastic job at establishing the world, and the trilogy follows Vasya as she grows up, and I think this first book did a fantastic job at introducing us to the character, and I loved it so much. Yeah, it's just a really, really good story, and it's not too long. It's a nice short fantasy book, and everyone pretty much raves about this trilogy, so if you haven't tried it, I would definitely recommend it. Book number 4 is the shortest of my favourites, and that's Africa's Tarnished Name by Chinua Achebe. This is a collection of, I think, 4 essays that he wrote about Africa's Tarnished Name. I read this book for one readathon I did, I can't remember which one now, and I loved it so much. It's a tiny book, it's only 56 pages, so you can read it in one sitting super easily. I have gone back and reread it multiple times. I've recommended it to so many people in real life. I just think it's fantastic. I don't even know how to really describe it, but I would definitely recommend it if you're interested in the mini modern classics by Penguin. They're fantastic. My third favourite book is the second in the Winter Night trilogy, and that is The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. I love this even more than the first book, obviously. I think it did a fantastic job at continuing the story. It was a little bit more fast-paced than the first book. And it really kind of just delved into things a lot more. Obviously our main character is a little bit older, she's experiencing different things, and I really enjoyed it. The whole story happens over quite a short period of time, and I really enjoyed how it was set up. It was really good. There were like one or two sentences that felt very random, but other than that, it was fantastic. I really enjoy Catherine Arden's writing style. It was a good story, and I'm really excited to read the final book in the trilogy. Okay, we're now up to the final two, and it took me quite a while to decide between these books because I love them both so much. But I'm okay with how I've placed them because this was a challenge to decide because they're both amazing books. One of them has a lot of hype already, and the other I haven't heard anyone else talk about. I kind of wanted to put the one that no one else has talked about as number one, but I couldn't quite bring myself to do it. So number two is Codename Helene by Ariel Lahorn. This is a retelling of the life of Nancy Wake, who is one of my favourite people just of all time. It's a fantastic book. Nancy Wake was a spy during World War II. She was known as the White Mouse. She's a fascinating figure. If you don't know anything about her, please Google her. She was amazing. And I loved this book so much. It just does a fantastic job of introducing the character of Nancy, and felt very true to who she was as a person. If you know a lot about her, you'll understand that if you read this book. And it was fantastic. I really like the formatting of the book and the way the time jumps, I think, were absolutely brilliant, the way that was used. So I don't want to give it away, but it was fantastic. And please read this book. It's amazing. It would have been number one if this was any other book that was number one. Any other year, this would have been book number one for me. But book number one is, of course, Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. It would be impossible for me not to put this book as number one. It's another book that I think I've mentioned to so many people in my real life this year, and I've just talked about it so much and recommend it to everyone. It's fantastic. I mean, there's nothing I can really say that nobody else has said, so I won't go on about it too much. But it's a brilliant book. It deserves all the praise it gets, all the awards that it's won or been nominated for. It's fantastic. I would definitely recommend, if you're going to read any books, Codename Helene and Girl, Woman, Other are definitely the ones I would recommend the most. Obviously, they're book 1 and 2 of my favourites this year, but I think both of them are going to be all-time favourite books for me. Honestly, they were fantastic. I think Codename Helene deserves a lot more buzz than it's gotten, and Girl, Woman, Other deserves all the praise that it has received because it is brilliant. And that is it, I think. Whew. My arm is about to die, so I'm gonna stop filming. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let me know what your favourite books of the year have been. And I will see you next time. Bye.